Talk about moving into some trickier patterns. So yesterday we looked at these addition patterns. So we have start at blank and add by blank each term. And today we're going to look at the patterns that don't seem to follow that rule so well. So we're going to start with pattern 1 and we'll go through that one together, and then I'll let you explore the other ones in whatever order you want. You'll see I've added a few things. I've thrown a hundreds chart right on my Jamboard so that I can use that. And I've just rearranged where the pattern goes. Okay. So here we're looking at the squares. So that's what we're counting. So in term 1, you'll remember this. Our term value appears to be, I'm going to switch to the marker. It's a little fatter. I like it. We have 1 square in term 1. That's great. So how does the pattern change? Well, here's the square we had in term 1. So you'll see we have a new row kind of going on the top of that square and wrapping right around. And that's 1, 2, 3. So we've got 3 squares in term 2. So now if we look at term 2, looks like this. So what have they added? They've added another row above and a column to the right. And this time it's 5 more. So here we added 3 more. Here we added 5 more. And in total, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is where it's trickier. Now we want to actually use the visual pattern to kind of see what we can do in figuring out what term 4 is and trying to figure all the way up to term 10. So I've got my hundreds chart and I'm just going to mark. So term 1, we're here at 1. Term 2, we're at 3. Oh, it shouldn't be 3. It should be 4. Oh, I'm so glad I caught that mistake. I hope that happens to you sometimes. Catch a mistake before you do all your math. We have 4 squares in term 2. I was so caught up figuring out what was being added. Okay, so here's my 100 square. I've got 1, and then we go to 4, and then we go to 9. So we're not adding by the same number each time. I added 1 plus 3 got me 4. So I added 1, 2, 3. So that was a jump of plus 3. And then to go from 4 to 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's a jump of 5. So I actually do kind of want to. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw term 3 and then extend it to make term 4. So term 3 looked like this with 9 squares. And how do we extend it? Well, we're going to create another row on top and then another column of squares beside. So I'm going to change the color to show what's new. So this would be the next step of our pattern. This is why drawing it can be helpful, because right now I don't know what the pattern is. So now I'm going to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So term 4 is 16. Okay. In term 5, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got 16. So I've got a 4 by 4 square. So I've got 1. Oh, these lines aren't going to look great. I know it. 2, 3. Oh, not so bad. 1, 2, 3. So there's my 16 squares from term 4, and I'm going to add to that to show term 5, which is going to go up and over and down, and then we're going to make this 1 new column, and this is 1 new row above. And now we're counting 5 times 5 is 25. So I wonder if you can figure out the pattern. There's a couple ways we could figure it out. So if we notice what's happening, what's changing from term to term, that can help us solve the pattern. So 1 plus 3 equals 4. 4 plus 5 equals 9. 9 plus 7 equals 16. 16 plus 9 equals 25. I'm seeing a pattern here. We're going up by 2. We're adding 2 more every time. So we're kind of starting at 3 and adding 2 more every time in terms of how that is changing. So I might say for this pattern, I might say, okay, we are starting at 1, then adding by 3, but each term. But there's more to it, because I could say something like, after that, add each term by 2 more than the previous term. Not previous. And so I have to add, so it's just a little trickier. So then what would be next? 3, 5, 7, 9, 11 would be next if I'm going to follow that pattern. So I'm going to go plus 11 to get to my next term, and it's 36. Now here's what I wonder. I wonder if you're seeing a different way that we could show this pattern. So what I showed is how the term changes, kind of the term value changes from each term and what's being added. But I'm also noticing something. Check this out. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times, anyone else notice this? 4 times 4 is 16. 5 times 5 is 25. 6 times 6 is 36. 7 times 7 is 49. And 36 plus 13. So this pattern continues to also work, is 49. So there's 2 different ways we could finish this. 8 times 8 is 64. And I'm going to use the faster way. 9 times 9 is 81. And 10 times 10 is 100. So that's going to be how we solve this pattern. And I could say either of these pattern rules. So I could start at 1, add 3, and then after that, add each term by 2 more than the previous. It's kind of a mouthful. Or I could say something like, the pattern rule is multiply the term by itself to get the term value. Let me put that in the same color. Oops. As the rule I was showing, I'll make it yellow. Okay, so it's a lot harder today. See if you can figure it out. You've got hundreds charts. You've got the opportunity to draw or actually make these using the stuff I have around the class. But let's see if we can really do some solving, and then maybe afterwards, we'll see if we can find some of these patterns. And if you could ever find that term-to-term value relationship, that really helps you, because if you know how to get from the term straight to the term value, then you could answer questions like this. I could say, hey, what's the term value for term 1001? And all you would have to do is do 1001 times 1001. And I wonder what we get. 1001 times 1001 is going to give us 1,002,001. If this pattern went all the way to term 1001, which it could. All right, so you're up next. You could choose pattern 3, you could choose pattern 8, or you could choose pattern 6. And I'll just quickly make sure that you have hundreds charts in there for those patterns in case you want to use them. All right.